breaking out from the last week's major storm. It is already starting. You're looking at a live shot there of the leading edge of the storm. By Saturday, the mile-high city could be more than 3 feet deep in snow. Here's the Broncos football stadium. The Broncos have a game on Sunday. They're going to need a lot of snow plows. Other parts of the state could be hit even worse. Then it travels east and really makes a mess, all of which means another potentially travel nightmare on another holiday weekend all across the country. The airline cancellations, they have already begun. CNN's Reynolds Wolf is standing by in Denver with the latest. Reynolds?
Hi, Anderson. Right now, snowfall rates are falling at well over an inch an hour, and we're expecting the possibility of anywhere from 10 to 20 inches of snowfall between now and midday tomorrow. We get a bit of a break on Friday, then more snowfall. Again, another 10 to 20 possible through Sunday. So the potential of up to 40 inches of snowfall total. Right now out at the airport, as you mentioned, we do have many cancellations, many delays. The airlines are urging customers to simply go to websites or the 800 numbers to get the latest information. I will tell you, people across Denver are bracing for this. They're getting ready for it, but this storm is affecting, as you mentioned, far more people than just people in the mile-high city. In fact, take a look at this video. This video takes you to Pine, Arizona, not far from Flagstaff, where the snow has been falling. We've seen snow from Pine, Arizona, back across the Sangre de Cristo Mountains into New Mexico, where snow advisories remain in effect in both states. Now we're going to take you from there over to Lake Sammamish, Washington, where they've seen a touch of winter weather there as well. That little blip over there in Lake Sammamish will eventually affect parts of the Central Rockies as we get deeper into the weekend. And as we take a look at the weather map, we're going to fast forward ahead into Friday, and you're going to see wide, far-reaching effects this system is going to have on many parts of the country. In fact, we can expect snow advisories to be scattered throughout the northern plains, the Dakotas, possibly heavy rainfall, severe storms across the central and southern plains, possibly tornadoes as well. And as we get deeper into, say, Saturday, some places, especially along the Gulf Coast, could be dealing with heavy rainfall, maybe even New Orleans. Flash flooding is certainly not out of the question. So again, as I mentioned, it's going to mean a lot of things to a lot of people, but here in the mile-high city of Denver, it's all snow biz.
A lot of people trying to get home. It's going to be a messy weekend. Thanks very much, Reynolds. We're going to be monitoring the storm throughout the night, but right now we turn to Iraq and breaking news. There are new indications tonight that Saddam Hussein's execution could take place within the next 48 hours. All the networks are chasing this story tonight. CNN has learned new details, and NBC News is reporting that the Iraqi government has put in a formal request for Saddam Hussein to be transferred into Iraqi custody. That is one of the final steps required before his execution. CNN's Arwa Damon joins me now from Baghdad. Arwa, what have you learned?
Well, Anderson, administration officials have confirmed that Saddam Hussein is expected to be transferred to Iraqi authorities this weekend, bearing in mind the weekend in Iraq actually begins today, Friday. What we do know is we earlier also spoke with his chief defense attorney, Khalil Dulaimi. He spoke to us from Amman. He said that Saddam Hussein met with 2 defense lawyers in the Iraqi capital, where he's being held at Camp Cropper out near the Baghdad airport. He said that Iraq's former president appeared to be in high spirits. However, the defense team has not been notified of a timing as to when the execution is going to take place. And according to Khalil Dulaimi, his family has not been notified either. Iraqi law does state that Saddam Hussein's family, that an individual on death row, their family needs to be notified of when an execution is going to take place. However, the Iraqi government could very easily cite security concerns and try to keep this entire event under wraps. In fact, what we are hearing is that the execution could take place and we will not be notified until sometime later. But all indications now are that Saddam Hussein is likely to be executed within the next 36 hours. This all, of course, marking an end of an era in Iraqi history, Anderson.
It is a remarkable development. Arwood, do we know at this point, you said it might be done in total secrecy. I assume they're going to photograph it or videotape it. I don't want to get too graphic or maudlin, but are they going to release that, or do they want people to see him die?
Well, Anderson, that actually has been a subject of debate amongst Iraqi government officials for quite some time now. On the one hand, they do want this broadcast, either be it taped or broadcast live. They say that this will allow Iraqis to have closure, especially those who suffered most under Saddam Hussein's regime. More importantly, they say that it will prove to the Iraqi people that Saddam Hussein, the former dictator, Iraq's former strongman, is indeed dead, and that he will not not be returning. At the same time, though, there are some Iraqi officials who are concerned that if this is broadcast, if it is broadcast live, or even if it is broadcast taped, that will have this current Iraqi government viewed in the same brutal light, viewed as a brutal regime in the same manner that Saddam Hussein's regime was. So the latest indication that we have from the Iraqi government is that this is still under debate. But again, just recently, back in mid-December, we did see other execution video that was broadcast.
All right, Arwa, thanks very much. We'll continue to follow the story very closely. Now, whenever, as Arwa mentioned, whenever Saddam Hussein's execution happens, this much is clear: it is unlikely to stop the violence now consuming Iraq. With that, here's CNN's Ryan Chilcote.
As Iraq awaits the execution of Saddam Hussein, the violence continues. In just 24 hours in the Iraqi capital, a double bombing at a second-hand clothes market kills at least 7 and sends dozens more to the hospital. Another roadside bomb at a gas station kills at least 10 and wounds at least 2 dozen. A mortar attack on a mostly Shiite neighborhood in the Iraqi capital, killing and wounding more innocent bystanders, among them a child. And attacks on American troops continue. December has been the second deadliest month this year for U.S. forces, the 5th deadliest since the beginning of the war.
Will executing Saddam lead to a more peaceful Iraq? The government hopes it will by demoralizing his supporters into giving up their fight.
Musab al-Zawbai is a Ba'athist from Saddam's party. He asked that we not show his face for his own protection. He predicts the violence will increase and it will only get worse for the Americans.
They will not be able to walk the streets anymore. Just like the first Fallujah battle, it will happen again. Saddam is a great man. They will lose, we will lose, the whole world will lose if Saddam dies.
Many loyalists say that the fight has been going on without Saddam since he was captured more than 3 years ago and will continue after his death. But Saddam's supporters only make up one part of the insurgency. In Baquba, some extremists who want to build an Islamic state in Iraq took to the streets in a show of force. For them, Saddam never mattered. The chaos will continue, and only a complete American withdrawal will do. Ryan Chilcote, CNN, Baghdad.
Well, again, the precise timing of Saddam's execution may be a mystery tonight, but we do know this much. When the time comes, the former dictator is indeed going to be hanged. A noose will be placed around his neck. A short time later, the dictator, convicted in the killings of 148 Iraqis, will himself be dead. With a look of exactly how it will happen, CNN's Randy Kay.
This is what Iraq's government calls the death chamber. Soon, Saddam Hussein will be here to meet the same fate as these men. This is what his final moments will look like. But we wanted to know what hanging will feel like.
Will Saddam suffer in death?
He certainly will suffer up to the point of hanging. Whether he will suffer during the hanging itself is a question that nobody knows the answer to. My suspicion is that there is no consciousness when a person is hung.
We have our hanging victim right here. Once the noose tightens, what is the very first thing?
Well, 2 of the cervical vertebrae will break and the spinal cord will become severed. The body will go into immediate paralysis.
Forensic scientist Larry Kobylinski says paralysis is what protects a person being hanged from feeling pain. Also, the trauma from the severing of the spinal cord makes the brain go haywire, Kobylinski says, so the body doesn't even recognize pain.
When you have this chaotic flow of energy in the brain, I don't see how there can be a consciousness.
Hanging has been used for centuries, dating back 2,500 years to the Persian Empire. Today, it is still used in many Middle Eastern countries. In the United States, New Hampshire and the state of Washington still allow prisoners to be hanged.
Hanging, that's the way I'm going to go. I'm going to hang.
Serial child killer Wesley Dodd was executed by hanging in Washington back in 1993. He told CNN he wanted to hang because that's how he killed one of his victims. The last hanging in the U.S. came 3 years after Dodd, in 1996, when convicted murderer Bill Bailey was hanged in Delaware. The outdoor gallows used in that execution were later torn down.
Once the vertebrae is broken, what would be the next thing to happen to the body?
Well, the next thing is the compression of the major blood vessels that feed the neck and supply oxygen to the brain. Those blood vessels are compressed. We're talking about the jugular vein and the deeper carotid artery. When you compress these blood vessels, there is no longer any supply of oxygen to the brain.
At 3 minutes, the brain will be dead from insufficient oxygen.
With such a tight noose, 3 minutes seems like a very long time to actually cut off somebody's air.
Well, it's a matter of the brain going into a certain mode where it tries to conserve energy and use whatever oxygen is available as efficiently as possible.
When the brain runs out of oxygen, the person will be declared dead, even though the heart may continue to beat for another 10 minutes.
This may be a dumb question. Why a hood? They often put a hood over people.
Well, according to Dr. Kobylinski, who we talked with today, who just saw in our story, he said under that hood there would certainly be a grimace. The face would actually contract, the muscles would contract, which is an automatic reflex from the noose and not being able to breathe. He said that there are also reports of hemorrhaging or bleeding into the white parts of the eyes, but he set us straight on that today. He said that doesn't happen because actually the arteries and the veins, they're shut down, they're closed down right here, so the blood isn't actually supplying any pressure to the brain or even into the eyes, so you wouldn't actually see any of that.
So it seems to be more for people who are witnessing it.
He thinks it's right. He thinks it's actually either just part of the tradition or just to disguise what is, I'm sure, a very horrible, very disturbing face under that hood.
All right, Randy Kay, appreciate it. Thanks. Tonight, President Bush is preparing to lead the country in mourning for former President Gerald Ford, but he has also just gotten a stinging rebuke from the late Commander-in-Chief. Coming up, some newly released tapes, Gerald Ford sounding off about the Iraq War. We'll also take you to Harlem, where James Brown's final appearance drew thousands to the Apollo Theater. And take a look at this.
Rosie's been pulling the wool over people's eyes for a long time. She is a stone-cold loser. What she is a bully.
Donald Trump, Rosie O'Donnell, they are at it again. You got to hear the latest, and you will. My one-on-one with the Donalds here on 360 coming up.
If you haven't yet discovered the beauty of classical music, this is the music collection for you. Presenting Best Classics 100, the top 100 classical songs of all time, on 6 CDs for the unbelievable price of only $24.98 plus $4.95 shipping and handling. Best Classics 100 features the greatest composers like Mozart, Beethoven, Bach, Tchaikovsky, and many more. There's a CD for every mood or occasion. You get uplifting classics, relaxing classics, golden classics, vocal classics, favorite classics, and spiritual classics. Just one phone call and you'll own Best Classics 100 on 6 CDs for only $24.98 plus $4.95 shipping and handling. Or order online at bestclassics100.com.
Well, a Marine was killed today in Iraq's Anbar province, bringing the number of U.S. military fatalities to 100 for the month and 2,989 for the war. Meantime, President Bush and his national security team met today at the ranch in Crawford. The president saying they were making good progress on a new strategy for Iraq he called success vital. An American failure, he said, would give terrorists a safe haven from which to plan new attacks on the United States. Nothing new there. And in Washington, a bombshell on Iraq, literally from beyond the grave. What the late Gerald Ford said to the journalist who had a leading role in bringing down his old boss, Richard Nixon. A story that could only be told now. Here's CNN's Brian Todd.
Nearly 2.5 years before his death, Gerald Ford cut a deal with Washington's most powerful journalist. He told Bob Woodward of the Washington Post, "You cannot print what I'm saying until after my death." Understandable concern, given Ford's comments about his fellow Republicans in the White House, including 2 of his former aides, and the war they started.
I think Rumsfeld, Cheney, and the president made a big mistake in justifying going into the war in Iraq. They put the emphasis on weapons of mass destruction.
During the July 2004 interview, Ford tells Bob Woodward he wouldn't have ordered the invasion, would have tried sanctions or other means.
The body language was one of consternation, unease. Here is this very seasoned, experienced politician, and he just did not buy the Iraq war.
But Ford has a broader problem with Bush's foreign policy.
And I just don't think we should go hellfire damnation around the globe freeing people unless it is directly related to our own national security.
In that interview, Ford, the very symbol of a moderate Republican, also wondered aloud about a perceived ideological shift by a man who once worked by his side in the Oval Office. Dick Cheney, he says, was a first-class chief of staff, but I think Cheney has become much more pugnacious as vice president. Neither Cheney's office nor a White House spokeswoman would comment on Ford's criticism. But CNN contributor and fellow conservative William Bennett is disappointed.
You know, you put the bomb in the tape recorder and it goes off after he's out of reach. I think that was a departure from the normal Jerry Ford that we know.
Still, one historian says the release of this after Ford's death carries what he calls tremendous gravity, because presidents have historically been hesitant to criticize their successors unless they felt a compelling need.
Harry Truman criticized President Eisenhower. You had Jimmy Carter criticizing president after president. This is a rule that is almost made to be broken.
In his interview, Gerald Ford also let go on Henry Kissinger, saying of the former Secretary of State, quote, "He had the thinnest skin of any public figure I ever knew." A Kissinger aide said he's out of the country and would not comment on Ford's remarks. Brian Todd, CNN, Washington.
Well, from the serious to the surreal, you might say. On her blog, Rosie O'Donnell just posted another blast at Donald Trump. Actually, it's a poem with a pretty inflammatory comparison. The Donald, well, he's not amused. Do you think she's calling you a pimp?
Well, she certainly is, and she shouldn't be doing that because that could cost her a lot of money.
Coming up, Donald Trump versus Rosie O'Donnell, round 2, or is it round 3, or is it round 7? I'm not sure. I've lost count. No matter, you won't want to miss it. My conversation with Donald Trump next on 360.
This holiday season, leave the perfect hint for your wish list. Dreams come true during the Lincoln Mercury Wish List event, featuring the redesigned 2007 Lincoln Navigator. The SUV that started it all is once again making its presence known. Find the ultimate holiday gift from the newest family of luxury vehicles during the Lincoln Mercury Wish List event.
For a free trial of prescription Actonel, keep listening.
I asked my doctor for one good reason to keep treating my osteoporosis with Actonel.
I gave her a whole list. An icy sidewalk, a misplaced garden hose, your grandson's toy truck. With osteoporosis, even a small fall can lead to a fracture.
Wow! I didn't know that.
Actonel can help prevent osteoporosis. Actonel helps protect your bones from the cells that cause osteoporosis to help them stay strong and fight fracture.
I'll stick with Actonel. My doctor told me Actonel is not for everyone. Women with low blood calcium or severe kidney disease shouldn't take Actonel, and you must be able to sit or stand for 30 minutes. My doctor also said to follow dosing instructions carefully. Stop taking Actonel and tell your doctor if you experience difficult or painful swallowing, chest pain, or severe or continuing heartburn, as these may be signs of serious upper digestive problems.
To get your certificate for a free trial of Actonel, call 1-800-260-3705 or visit Actonel.com.
Then talk to your doctor.
And keep fighting fracture with Actonel.
For about $1/4 a day, just $7.95 a month per unit, Colonial Penn offers guaranteed acceptance life insurance to people ages 50 to 85. These days, funeral costs alone average over $6,000. Now you can get help with no medical exam, no health questions. And the rate of $7.95 a month per unit is guaranteed never to increase.
Call 1-800-529-5402 to receive free information in the mail. Call now.
Probably I'll sue her because it would be fun. I'd like to take some money out of her fat ass pockets.
And frankly, here's my comment to him.
Well, that was round 2, sort of the feud the country is still talking about. What began with a few snarky comments quickly turned nasty, exploding into an all-out war of words between two big celebrities. There was a ceasefire, of course, over Christmas, but in the last 2 days, a new round has begun when Rosie posted a poem on her blog, and Well, the nastiness is only growing. Earlier today, I talked to Donald Trump about the prospect of a truce. We'll have that interview in a moment. But first, how we got here in all of its ugly brilliance. It started with an act of forgiveness. Donald Trump last week deciding not to strip Miss USA Tara Conner of her crown after she'd been caught underage drinking.
Mr. Trump, I want to thank you.
Rosie O'Donnell wasn't buying it. From her perch on ABC's The View, she fired the first volley.
He's the moral authority. Left the first wife, had an affair. Left the second wife, had an affair. Had kids both times, but he's the moral compass for 20-year-olds in America. Donald, sit and spin, my friend.
That didn't sit well with Donald Trump, nor did her allegations about him filing for Chapter 11. He fired back and threatened to hit her where it hurts, the wallet.
So probably I'll sue her because it would be fun. I'd like to take some money out of her fat ass pockets.
The next day, Rosie didn't seem to take the bait. She remained mostly mum on the subject.
Here's my comment to him.
But Trump wasn't done. He went on CNN's Larry King that night and continued firing away.
The best thing Rosie has going is her girlfriend, Kelly. Now, if Kelly ever leaves Rosie, she'll never find another one, believe me, because who's going to want Rosie? How would you like to have to kiss that goodnight, Larry? That would not be for you.
And it seemed that was that. But on Wednesday, Rosie took to her blog, penning a poem which doesn't mention Trump by name, but doesn't need to. A young girl in New York, she writes, meets a pimp. He cons her into a life of illusion. She works for him. No fun, no f***ing, no future. She is owned. When she sneaks out to party the night away, he freaks. He roughs her up a bit, shames her in front of the others, teaches her to behave for his own benefit. Not to let Rosie get the last word, Donald Trump used today's New York Post to call her a mental midget. Now the fight that was in danger of dying out is back on. But for how long?
This feud has to end soon because these two are treading a fine line. The public is fascinated with this feud, but very quickly the public is going to get annoyed with this feud. And there really isn't much more to talk about. The major mudslinging has been done. I think with the new year they're going to have to move on, and I think the Donald is going to be the one to sort of patronizingly say, I've had enough of this, I'm done.
Not much more to talk about. Au contraire, mon frere. To say that no love's been lost between these two, well, that is putting it mildly. Glad tidings and holiday cheer have not made a dent in this feud. That much was clear when I talked to Donald Trump earlier today. So what happened? It seemed like there was a Christmas ceasefire. Then all of a sudden, Rosie writes this poem on her blog. Did it surprise you that she would continue this fight?
Well, you know, Anderson, Rosie's a loser. There's no question about that. People know it. People that know her know it. And I assumed that it was over. She got beaten up pretty badly, and then she wrote a blog. Now, she didn't mention my name at all because she's gutless. But she's a person that, frankly, Barbara Walters, you know, she resurrected her. And I will tell you this, Barbara is not thrilled about it because I spoke with Barbara. Barbara is not a fan of Rosie. That I can tell you. Now, I don't think Barbara's going to admit that.
Yeah, publicly,
but Barbara is not a fan of Rosie.
Publicly, Barbara Walters has put out a statement basically saying that she's a friend of yours, but that she likes having Rosie on The View. You think that's not the case?
Well, what else is she going to say? And Rosie will fail with The View just like she's failed with everything else. In all fairness, Rosie got thrown off the air with her other show because she got poor ratings. And you're doing very well in your ratings, so congratulations. But Rosie's ratings were not good. And then she had a magazine which was a total catastrophe. In fact, a rising star, the head of that whole publishing company, ended up losing his job over Rosie the magazine. It was a total failure. So Rosie was down and out, and Barbara resurrected her, at least for a little while. But Rosie will fail. I mean, Rosie's got a death wish. She is not a smart person. I know Rosie.
What do you mean she's got a death wish?
This is not a woman with intellect. Excuse me?
What do you mean she's got a death wish?
Well, I think she's got a death wish. I think Rosie will fail at whatever she does because ultimately she's got a death wish. That's my theory on Rosie.
You're probably not a big reader of her blog, but I just want to read a poem or part of a poem that she put on, which has sort of sparked this all up again. She sort of compares you to a pimp. She says, remember the 70s, a young girl in New York City meets a pimp. He cons her into a life of illusion. She works for him. Do you think she's calling you a pimp?
Well, she certainly is, and she shouldn't be doing that because that could cost her a lot of money. But the fact is that what I did and how this all started is I own the Miss USA pageant and the Miss Universe pageant. The Miss USA has had problems. Rather than getting rid of her, which a lot of people, frankly, wanted me to do, including Rosie, I gave her a second chance. She's right now in rehab, and I gave her a second chance. So instead of saying to this young woman who's in the very formative years, I said, hey, I'm going to give you, life is about second chances, I'm going to give you a second chance. Rosie went crazy. Now, I guarantee you Rosie would have given her a second chance, but for other reasons. Rosie went crazy. And this is how it all started. It is totally ridiculous. But I really think Rosie has some real problems.
I want to play for the one or two people on the planet who didn't see this or haven't seen it subsequently, what Rosie originally said after the Tara Conner press conference. Here's what she said on The View.
He's the moral authority. Left the first wife, had an affair. Left the second wife, had an affair. Had kids both times, but he's the moral compass for 20-year-olds in America.
Was it that comment, or was it her false allegations that you've declared bankruptcy multiple times?
Well, you know, it's sort of interesting. I never declared bankruptcy, and like everybody else in the early 90s, I had difficulty, but I never went bankrupt. She said I did. I'm on the cover last month of the Forbes 400. I'm the cover boy of the Forbes 400 rich list, and I don't care about that, except it just shows what a liar she is. She said I went bankrupt. She talks about which was false. She talks about moral compass. I mean, look at Rosie. Look at where she comes. Have you ever seen a comedy act, which is, by the way, terrible? I was at one of her comedy acts, and most of the people left because she was so disgusting. Not funny and disgusting. So, you know, Rosie shouldn't be talking. I mean, the one I feel sorry for in the whole thing is her girlfriend, Kelly. Anybody that has to kiss Rosie, I feel very sorry for.
So, all right, so this is all fun in a perverse sort of way, but is it also just a big publicity stunt, huh? What do you guys think? I asked Donald Trump about that coming up and whether he would actually be willing to go on The View and shake hands with Rosie O'Donnell and bury the hatchet in a friendly kind of way, not in a, attacking kind of way. His answers are coming up on that. And then today's remarkable sights and sounds in Harlem in the Apollo Theater, where thousands came to bid farewell to James Brown.
Introducing the cure for the winter cold, Cancun. Come golf, spa, shop, or just soak up some rays. Discover the Mayan Gold Coast. Visit Cancun.info. Want the ultimate men's grooming solution for under $15? Introducing MicroTouch Magic, the magical micro trimmer with the built-in light. It spotlights the hair and makes it disappear. Look, now you see it, now you don't. It magically goes where other trimmers can't. Embarrassing nose hair, gone like that. Unsightly ear hair, watch it disappear. Need to trim the back of your neck? With Magic, you can do it by yourself. Look, it gets as close as a blade, yet it's safe to the touch. And the super bright light lets you see what you're doing and do the job right. Sideburns straight and even. Mustaches and beards are neat and clean. And for bushy eyebrows, just snap on the grooming guide and watch them transform right before your eyes. When it looks this good, this fast, it's got to be Magic. Powerful enough for the tough stuff, yet gentle even on the most sensitive skin. It looks like a magic wand, but the real magic is that you can replace all these trimmers with one that does a perfect job. And it's easy to use. What a great way to keep the man in your life perfectly groomed. Or for moms who want to keep their kids neat and clean between haircuts. So, put a little magic in your life with the all-new MicroTouch Magic. A $30 value for only $14.99. Plus, you'll receive our deluxe 10-piece grooming kit, complete with every grooming tool you need to always look your best. A $20 value absolutely free. Yes, you get it all. The MicroTouch Magic with built-in light, plus our deluxe 10-piece travel kit, an incredible $50 value, both for only $14.99. This offer is not available in stores, so call and get yours now.
To order your MicroTouch Magic, the ultimate men's grooming kit, call 1-800-377-4401. Call now and get the MicroTouch Magic with the built-in light, plus our deluxe 10-piece travel kit for only $14.99. So don't delay. Call 1-800-377-4401. Call now.
Ding, 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 ding. Back to the feud that refuses to die. Rosie O'Donnell versus Donald Trump. There was a brief lull over the Christmas holiday, but both sides came out swinging this week. On her blog, Rosie started it by firing some shots at Donald Trump and the beauty pageants that he operates in the form of a poem. More of my conversation with Donald Trump. Here's part 2 of round 3. Rosie, in this new poem, she's also very critical of beauty pageants, calling them, and I quote, where women were paraded around, judged valuable or not by old white men.
If you look like Rosie, you'd be critical of beauty pageants, too. Believe me. Rosie is a very unattractive woman, both inside and out. And as hard as it is to believe, inside is probably uglier than outside, and that's really saying something. But you have to understand, I know Rosie. Rosie's a loser. Rosie's been pulling the wool over people's eyes for a long time. She is a stone-cold loser. What she is a bully. Rosie says a lot of negative things about a lot of people. They don't do anything about it. I did something about it. Rosie is not a talented person, and I think I've exposed that. I hope I have.
How much of this is just for publicity? I mean, on her part or on your part?
On my behalf, I will tell you nothing. The Apprentice comes on January 7th. The show, as you know, does very well. It gets very high ratings. I don't need Rosie to help me with my ratings. She probably needs me to help her with her ratings, but I don't need Rosie to help me with my ratings.
But you're not really going to sue her, though. I mean, most legal experts we've talked to say there's probably not that much of a case.
No, my lawyers... Hey, Anderson, I'm a very rich guy. It doesn't matter.
I've heard that.
It doesn't make any difference. I'm a very, very rich guy. For Rosie to say I went bankrupt 3 times when I never went bankrupt at all, I never went bankrupt. And she said, I mean, you're not allowed to do that. For Rosie to call me a pimp, I'm a pimp. And you know why I'm a pimp? Because I own a beauty pageant. That's why she says I'm a pimp. I'm a pimp because, unlike her, I gave a girl a second chance. That's why I'm a pimp. You're not allowed to make statements like that, Anderson.
You've been really tough in some of your comments. I mean, saying she's a loser, commenting on her weight. Why attack so hard?
I'm not running for office. I don't have to be politically correct. I don't have to be a nice person. Like I watch some of these weak-kneed politicians, it's disgusting. I don't have to be that way. Rosie is an unattractive person. Rosie is she's a slob. And, how she gets this girlfriend, I don't know. But I look forward to the day that Kelly leaves her. Because Kelly, if you're listening, Kelly, and I'm sure you are, you can do much better.
Is some sort of rapprochement between you two possible? Are we going to see you on The View?
Anderson, I have no interest in Rosie. Rosie is a stone-cold loser, resurrected temporarily by Barbara Walters. She will fail. She may pull Barbara down with her, but she will fail. She'll go off. She'll do something that's so insane that... I believe that Rosie has some serious mental problems. That's my feeling.
Why do you think so many people find this fascinating? I mean, Maureen Dowd wrote about it in the Times this weekend.
Well, Maureen Dowd is a great woman who does, I think she's, I've been reading her, and she was very nice to me. And to be honest, it started with a beauty pageant contestant. And frankly, she's a great beauty. Tara is a great beauty. So you have beauty, and then you have Rosie, the beast. You have Beauty and the Beast. So it works well. And then you have Trump. So it's like a good combination of events, but the fact is that it started very simply without Rosie. She interjected herself into this. A very big story was the Miss USA story, whether or not she was going to be terminated. And then the exact opposite of Miss USA in terms of look, Rosie O'Donnell. You can't look worse than Rosie. She interjected herself into Miss USA, which is sort of hard to believe, and all of a sudden it went from the Miss USA, which was the monster story of the week, to Rosie and Donald Trump, which became the monster story of the week. So, I don't know. She interjected herself in, but I finished it. I mean, I've exposed her for what she is. She's a bully. She's a woman with not a lot going for her. And, the one thing I respect about Rosie, if you have that little going for you, to be even moderately successful like she is hard to believe. I give her credit for that.
Would you go on The View and shake hands with her?
No, I don't want to go on The View. I've been on The View many times. It's frankly not a show that does very good ratings. I mean, unfortunately, the only problem I have is I bring up the ratings of The View. This whole thing brings up the ratings of The View. I have no intention of going on The View. Why would I go on The View?
Good question. I think we'll leave it there. Donald Trump, appreciate talking to you.
Have a good time, Anderson.
Hey, have a great New Year's. While obviously oddly fascinated by this dust-up, we believe in talking to people on all sides of an issue. We wanted to talk with Rosie O'Donnell. We asked her to come on the program or call in tonight, but she declined. When we asked for her response to Trump's latest remarks, her spokesperson directed us to Rosie's blog, saying that it stands on its own. That said, Rosie has an open invitation to come on 360 anytime to give her side of the story. Moving on now, James Brown made his debut at the Apollo Theater in Harlem way back in 1956. Today, look at those crowds. Thousands waited in line to see the godfather of soul one last time. A goodbye for the ages and the history books. That's next on 360. And coming up in our next hour, the most unforgettable stories of 2006.
Larry, it's time we got more life insurance. I've been looking. I can't believe how much it can cost.
Mm-hmm.
We don't need $1 million policy, just enough to help with the bills we'll leave behind. They're the loans and the credit cards, and probably medical expenses, too. And I hear the average funeral costs more than $6,000. We really need more life insurance.
Sure do.
But where can we find affordable coverage at our age with your health?
It's not a problem. We belong to AARP.
Whether you're looking to supplement an existing policy or buying protection for the first time, you cannot be turned down for AARP Guaranteed Acceptance Life. You never have to visit a doctor or answer any health questions. If you're an AARP member between the ages of 50 and 80, your acceptance is guaranteed for up to $15,000 in affordable lifetime protection. With this plan, rates never increase just because you grow older. You can't be singled out for a rate increase. What's more, this insurance is yours to keep even if you live to be 100. And the AARP life insurance program is endorsed and monitored by AARP. No wonder so many people over 50 turn to the program to get the coverage they need. To find out more about AARP Guaranteed Acceptance Life, just dial this toll-free number and request free information by mail. There's no risk or obligation.
Receive a free comfort massager just for calling. Call 1-800-459-9694. Not an AARP member will tell you how to join. Call 1-800-459-9694.
Thanks to the AARP life insurance program, we can get life insurance without a medical exam or a big price tag.
That's right.
All we have to do is pick up the phone.
Oh, don't bother. I already called and got this free information by mail.
Call now for free information and a free gift.